Guys, before we start, if you haven't seen my first video on my main channel regarding the whole Bishop Sycamore story, if you want to do so, I'll link it in the description box below. So yesterday's video, I spoke about the story of how an alleged fake high school finessed ESPN and found themselves playing against a high school football powerhouse in IMG Academy on a nationally broadcasted game via ESPN on Sunday night. IMG ended up winning the game 58-0 against Bishop Sycamore. So some of the controversies that arose from all this was that this wasn't even a high school team. Bishop Sycamore, or BS, was made up of 19 and 20-year-old postgraduates and not high school kids. And the man behind all this was head coach Roy Johnson. The team apparently misled Paragon Marketing, the company that booked all the games for Geico Kickoff for ESPN. In any event, this was all a scam, and in my other video, I break down in detail a complex interview with Aaron Boyd, a former player who played for Roy Johnson at the now defunct COF Academy, which was a similar school with the same goal as BS, but was shut down after investigators found no classes were actually taking place. Hence, this later birthed Bishop Sycamore in 2019.
Billy Martin, straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Never taking shorts cause Brooklyn's the bomb.
Guys, do me a favor and make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers and I'm really trying to kickstart this new channel where I'll be primarily covering football news. So during the fallout of the last couple days, it seems as though two more former athletes from Bishop Sycamore were interviewed by Complex, and some of the stuff in the interview was pretty crazy. So much like Aaron Boyd from the previous interview, these two were sold on something far from the truth from Roy Johnson. The coach reiterated that BS provides fantastic education and that the kids would be in schooling at Franklin University, which is a private school in Columbus, Ohio. During this interview process, it seemed as though the two kids were quite nervous and careful with how much to divulge. They were speaking anonymously and didn't want to get in trouble with the law. The pair then discussed how practices were supposed to be held at Ohio State facilities, but the team ended up practicing just right outside the apartment complex. Later on, they would add the team would seldomly practice and instead just go straight to the games. One kid described when they played IMG the year before in October 2020, the team never practiced for the week, but instead practiced the morning of on game day, which is just insane when you think about it. Like I said, IMG is a powerhouse with some of the best high school football talents in the nation, and it wouldn't be a surprise if many of these kids ended up at LSU, Alabama, or Clemson. So not even preparing for one's team for a huge game like this just sounds absolutely ridiculous. Later on, the two interviewees talked about how fighting amongst teammates was very common. None of these kids really knew each other, and I'm assuming the lack of leadership and guidance probably played a large role in team disunity. Their interview then took a turn as one of the players spoke about a specific incident that occurred. In the morning of a practice, as players gathered together, they noticed a homeless man breaking into Roy's car, and what ensued was a beatdown of the homeless man that the head coach gave the green light for. Guys, this is pretty messed up. You have a head coach pretty much okaying to his athletes to mollywop another individual. Then the topic of player safety and food came up. The pair complained that there were no athletic trainers and that they had to play injured most of the time, and this was magnified even more so playing back-to-back games on short rest. During last Sunday's game against IMG, it was revealed that BS had played another game on Friday night, leaving players very little time to recover. And the eating thing there was crazy. We probably had one hot dog every 2 days. Like Aaron Boyd said, we had to run to Target and just get food. Boyd had mentioned in the other interview that players literally had to go to stores and steal their food to find their next meal. Even the quality of the food they were served was damn near next to prison food. Things would get much worse, as one of them describes how their 2020 season ended prematurely due to COVID, and while packing up to move out of the apartment, the front desk lady shocked the kids when she said they were being evicted after their head coach hadn't paid for the apartments in 3 to 4 months. The pair refuted claims that there were JUCO players on their team, but did confirm that there were older players on the roster, mostly 20 to 21 years of age, who even had kids of their own. In the end, when talking about their head coach, they basically called him a fast talker who promised the world. But I think the last thing is what had me dead when in 2019, the team took a player who was straight out of jail. And when the team tried to fly on a plane to face IMG Academy, they couldn't, because players had warrants for their arrest. Guys, this is some serious shit. Can't even make this shit up. Anyways, after making these 2 videos, it seems as though there's so much more to this story that I'm discovering each day. Anyways, let me know in the comment section if you guys want me to do a full-on timeline of Bishop Sycamore.